Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Sarah with the Adventure Squad, and today I am bringing you two games for the price of one. And we are going to be talking about Cascadia rolling games. Now we have Cascadia Rolling Hills and Cascadia Rolling Rivers, and we're going to be talking about both of these awesome games. Both of these games are for 1 to 4 players, ages 10 plus, and take about 15 to 30 minutes to play. These two games are sisters of the Cascadia board game, which we also own and love. These games continue the theme of the Pacific Northwest, including animals and habitats. These two games are both individual games. However, the rules do get into how you can combine them in order to have more variety and allow up to 8 players. The basic gameplay and rules are pretty much the same between both of these games, which makes it easy to learn, because once you know how to play one, you can pretty much figure out how to play the second one. The big differences between the games are just the main dice that you're using are a little bit different between the two games, and also that there's different objective cards and maps in each of these games. So while the main basic gameplay and turn structure is the same in both of the games, it just gives it a little bit more variety with the different maps and different objectives. With that, let's jump in and show you how to play the Cascadia rolling games. As I said, these games are two individual games, but the components are pretty much the same. The dice are a little bit different from one game to the other, as well as some of the completion cards. Both games have a few different completion cards that are unique to each game, but also the rules included how to merge those two games so you can include this stuff in one game. So let's start with the maps. Each game has 4 unique maps, and those are A, B, C, and D. As you go up in the alphabet, they do get a little more challenging and involve a little bit more with the maps. So A is definitely the easiest, and D is definitely going to be the most challenging and the most going on in it. For this video, I'm just going to be teaching you the basics on how to play these games, so we're just going to be taking a look at map A. So when you're setting up for a game, each player is going to get a map of whatever map you're playing, and they're also going to get an animal tracker sheet. So this is where we're going to be keeping track of all of the animals that we receive and all of the animals that we are paying to complete habitats. Each player will also receive a player aid. It includes round summaries and dice actions, so it shows what you can do with your pine cones as you play the game. And on the back side, it also includes a family mode. So if you have younger kids and you maybe just want to play more of a family mode, you can certainly do that as well. Each player is going to get 2 dice, and you're going to make sure that you have one of each die. So as you can see, one of these has a fish and hawk on it, and the other one has a bear. The rest are all pretty similar, but those are the 2 distinguishing sides on these dice. So make sure you have 1 die with a fish and hawk, and 1 die with a bear. We also have 4 community dice here. As you can see, they have more animals on them as well as special things. We have our habitat cards here. Now I have 10 of these 1 cards and 10 of these 2 cards. So these 1 cards are generally a little easier. They don't require as many animals or requirements to complete these cards, whereas the level 2 cards require more animals and are more challenging to get. There are more cards of each of these in the box. It says that you need to take out 1 of each color in each of these levels, and those get set aside and put back in the box. So you have 10 cards of level 1 and 10 cards of level 2. And next we have completion cards here. So some of these cards are things that you get when you complete these habitat cards, and other ones are ones that you can use to help you complete these cards. These are not all of the completion cards that are in the game. These are just some of the examples of what you might see in the completion cards. The last thing you're going to need to play this game is something to write with. They do not include any pencils or pens or anything within the game, so you will just need something to write with and possibly something with an eraser in case you make a mistake and you want to change. During setup, you're just going to take your level 2 cards and your level 1 cards, and you're going to make sure your level 1 cards are on top so that you're playing those first. This is how it's going to look when you get most of the setup completed. So we have our habitat cards here, and we flip up 4 face up. We just leave the rest of the stack face down next to this row. Each habitat card is a different habitat. So we have rivers, mountains, prairies. We also know the next card that is coming up here, it says it's going to be a wetlands card. So if you're trying to plan out things around your map, you might be able to look at what the next card coming out is to kind of plan on future moves that you might want to do. Let's take a look at these habitat cards. So you can always find what the cost is to complete these cards. So this card would cost you 2 foxes, 2 hawks, and 4 fish. This one would cost 1 elk, 2 foxes, and 2 hawks. Along with the cost on these cards, it also shows you how many points these cards are worth if you complete them. So this card is worth 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, and 2 points. There will be higher point cards as we go along, especially including in the level 2 cards. Those will be more points than these level 1 cards. Some cards also have bonuses for completing them. So this first card here, if you complete this card, you would get 2 pine cones. There are also some extra bonuses, as I mentioned earlier, on these completion cards. So if you were to finish the second card here, you would get 1 pine cone as well as this bonus down below. Roll 1 of your personal dice and gain the result. So basically, if you complete this card, you would be able to roll 1 of your personal dice and get that resource or animal that is on that die that you roll. And then again, these blue completion cards up top just help you complete these habitat cards that we have in front of us. So this completion card can only be used with this habitat card. Just like these bonuses down here are only gained when you complete that habitat card that is above it. Now the gameplay for these games is pretty straightforward. So we can see it right here on the round summary. We're going to be rolling the dice, collecting wildlife, and attempting to complete habitat cards. And those are the basic actions that you're going to be completing each round. So rolling dice, collecting wildlife, and completing habitat cards. Those are your 3 major steps. So let's just go through what a turn looks like. We are all going to roll our personal dice that we have here, our 2 individual dice. All right, so that's what I rolled with my individual dice. And then the common dice get rolled as well. And these dice are going to be able to be used by everyone. So what you're going to do is take a look at what you rolled versus what you have rolled in the common dice. Now, unless you rolled a special die or you're using these pine cones to do special actions, you generally can only take 1 animal type. So for instance, if I choose to take hawks, I would get 1, 2 hawks. Same with the fish. I would get 2 fish if I decided that I wanted to keep fish. Otherwise, I could just take a bear, or with this die, as you can see, it's either an elk or a fox. So that's an either or die. So you can choose to take one of those if you would rather just have an elk or a fox. Let's take a look at our animal tracker sheet. As you can see, we start with 1 of each animal. Generally, the more common animals are found at the bottom of this tracker sheet, and the less common and the more lucrative animals are at the top of the sheet. So bears and elk are usually a little bit harder to get than if you were trying to get fish or birds. If you take a look at the dice, there are more fish and birds than there are, say, bears or elk. Another thing that we start with are pine cones. As you can see, we do start with 2 pine cones on our tracker sheet. Now there's several things that we can do with these pine cones that we collect. If we look over here at our player aid, we can see that if we have 1 pine cone, and in the game these are actually called conifers, but we just call them pine cones because that's really what they look like. They're just pine cones. So if we trade in one of those pine cones or conifers, you can convert all of 1 wildlife type to the type below it. So let's say I really wanted elk. I could use one pine cone to convert this bear and downgrade it to an elk. So then I would be able to collect 2 elks and add those to my tracker. If you use 2 pine cones, it's kind of the same idea, but you can convert animals 1 up on your sheet. So let's say I was looking for hawks. I would be able to convert my 2 fish up into hawks by using 2 pine cones. And I would then be able to mark 4 hawks on my sheet. If I happen to have 3 pine cones, I would be able to take 2 wildlife types instead of just 1. So I would be able to take 2 fish and 2 hawks if I wanted to. All right, so let's jump into the gameplay and take our turn here. So we look at our dice and figure out what animal type we want to collect for this round. And I'm going to go ahead and collect these fish. So I would get 2 fish. So I'm just going to add that to my tracker. I'm going to cross off this 1 and add 2 to it. So I would have 3 fish. After we have collected our selected animal type, we take a look at the habitat cards and see if there's any cards out there that we want to finish. Usually it's pretty hard to finish any of these cards in the first round or 2 just because we do only start with 1 in each of these animal types, and then you're adding on any animals that you are collecting through the dice rolls. But in this round, I see this card here that requires 3 fish and 2 bears. We also have this blue completion card up here that does help us complete it if we want to. This one is spend 2 nature tokens to reduce the habitat cost by any 3 animals. So essentially, I could finish this card by using 2 of my fish. I could forego using 2 bears and 1 fish. I can reduce the cost by any 3 animals. So if I did that, I would just cross off this 3 in the fish column because I'm going to use 2 fish to complete this card. So I would go back to 1 fish, and I wouldn't have to use my bear because I have this blue card up here that helps me not use those bears. So I completed this card, so I would immediately get 1 conifer. And I did use the 2 conifers, so I would have been down to 0, but then I get 1 conifer from completing that card. Next on our map, you can see that we have lines of each of these habitats. So I completed a mountain card. I'm just going to come over to this mountain line here, and I'm going to write in how many points that card was worth. So it was worth 2 points, and we're just going to write that 2 up here in the topmost area. Now that we've gotten started on our map, let's take a closer look at this. So as you can see, as I said, we have each of the habitats here. If you're able to complete a whole row, so 1 card of each habitat, you would get this bonus over here on the side. These green numbers here are extra bonus points, so you would get 3 extra points at the end of the game. Also, you get a wild of any animal that you want. So you would get 1 animal in whichever animal track you want. So if you wanted a bear, you could have a bear, or maybe you're trying to finish a certain card and you just need 1 more of a certain animal, you can have 1 of that animal. Also, here in the middle, we have more bonuses. So if we are able to complete these first 2 in any of the habitats, we would get 1 extra bonus point and 1 of these suns. As you can see, down here we have a row, and this is our sun row. So once you complete these first 2, you get a sun, and you can pick any one in this row. You don't have to go left to right or anything. You can pick any of these in this sun row, and you just cross it off, and you get those resources. So you could get 3 fish, you could get a fox and a bird, 2 conifers, or even just 1 extra point for the end of the game. Same thing down here at the bottom. If you were to complete all 4 in one of these habitats, you would get another extra point and another sun, so that would give you more resources. Once everyone has completed their turn, we simply take this end face-up card and flip it over, and that way we know that we can no longer use this card, and the rest of these face-up cards just get shuffled down 1, and the next face down card gets flipped face up. And as you can see, that's our wetlands card. The next card that we would be seeing in the next round would be a forest card. These completion cards, both below and above our habitat cards, don't move. So as you go along, you just shuffle down these habitat cards, so you'll have a different habitat card on each of these completion bonuses. So again, we're going to be rolling our personal dice, rolling the community dice, picking an animal type that we want for that round, and adding it to our tracker sheet. Then we see if there's any habitat cards that we want to complete, including looking at these completion bonuses up top to see if those can help us complete anything. If we do complete one of the habitat cards, make sure we take any bonuses that are at the bottom as well as on these completion cards if we complete a card that is connected to one of these completion cards. And then make sure we do our actions on our map. So writing in whatever the card score is. So if we complete this one, it would be 3 points in the wetlands. So writing in that 3 in the wetlands. Checking to see if we have completed any of the bonuses, whether it's the 2 going down or if we complete a full line going across. And don't forget, you also have these pine cones or conifers to do these special actions. So whether you want a certain animal type or maybe you want 2 types of animals when you're selecting what animals you want. And then again, once everyone is done taking their turn, you flip over the end card here, so that way we know we can't use that anymore, and shuffle these down and put out another card from the top of the habitat deck. The game ends when there are no more cards to flip over in this deck. So whenever you flip over the last card in this deck, that's going to be the final round. At the end of the game, you're going to add up all your points. So you're going to look at each line, add up your points, including any bonus points you might have gotten. So you do that all the way down. Don't forget these bonus points at the bottom and in the middle. And then at the end, you also count up how many animals and conifers you have left that are unused. So if you have a lot of unused animals in your tracks here, you just add those up, and for every 5, you would get 1 point. So if you had 10 animals and conifers left at the end of the game, you would get 2 extra points. Add up the points column, and that is your total score. Whoever has the highest score at the end of the game wins. These are the other 3 Rolling Hills maps. This is B, C, and D. So each map gets a little bit harder and a little bit more complex with more stuff going on. But the gameplay and the rules are basically the same. It's just learning these different maps and how you're supposed to be marking your sheets. The Rolling Rivers maps also are pretty similar to these maps. So again, they get harder the further along you go in the maps. Now, we did already touch on some of the aspects of the community dice, but let's take a closer look. These yellow dice over here on the left side are the Rolling Hills community dice. The blue dice on the right side are for Rolling Rivers. As I mentioned earlier, all of the dice have animals on them that you're going to be using and collecting throughout the game. Some of the dice also have these question marks, and that means it is a wild. So whatever animal you are choosing to collect that round, you can add 1 more to that number. This die can be counted as any one animal. There are also some dice that have this side on them. So when you're taking dice actions using your conifers or pine cones, the cost is 1 less. So if this side is rolled in the community dice, that means if you're taking any of those actions, it costs 1 less pine cone. Now let's take a look at some of the game-specific actions that are on some of these dice. So for instance, on the Hills dice, we have this side. This allows you to re-roll your 2 personal dice, and you can do this up to 2 times. You can also re-roll both dice once, and if there's one die that you like and that you want for your animals, you can keep one and lock it in, and then re-roll the second die. Otherwise, you have 2 rolls to try to re-roll your personal dice. The other special die in Rolling Hills is this one, where you can pick any 3 dice to collect. So it doesn't have to be the same animal. You could essentially pick 3 different animals if you wanted to. You just pick 3 different dice between your personal dice and the community dice, and you can collect 3 of those animals. Let's take a look at the special actions for Rolling Rivers. We have this action, which allows you to select an extra animal. So after you collect the animals that you have chosen for that round, you can actually select 1 extra that is different than the animal you already chose. The other special action that we have on this die is using one of your personal dice twice. So you can actually count one of your personal die as 2. And then, of course, we have some dice that have either or options. So you'll see 2 different animal types on there separated by a slash. That means you can pick either one of those options, but you cannot pick both. So with this one, I could either pick a hawk or a bear. I would not be able to pick both of those. Both of these games are super easy and quick to play, and we definitely love the Pacific Northwest theme. Since that's where we live, we definitely enjoy having a game that we can connect with. Anybody who's a fan of the original Cascadia game would love these games. It just continues the Pacific Northwest feel, along with the animals and habitats. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the Adventure Squad down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, get your game on.